Today's Tuesday, September 1st. I am Councilwoman Dominguez, and I'm going to go ahead and start our Committee of the Whole meeting at 5:45. Public notice is hereby given that this meeting will occur electronically without an anchor location in accordance with Utah Code 52-42074, version 4, due to infectious disease COVID-19 novel coronavirus. The council chair has determined that conducting a meeting with an anchor location presents substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location, because the physical distancing measures may be difficult to maintain in the Murray City Council chambers. See attached council chair determination, and I will read that at the end of this meeting as well. The public may view the meeting via the live stream at www.murraycitylive.com or via Facebook at our Murray City Utah page. Citizen comments or public hearing comments may be submitted by sending an email in advance or during the meeting to city.council@murray.utah.gov. It's also located on the screen below. Let's see, yeah, right there. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes, include your name and contact information, and they will be read into the record. All right, thank you everyone for joining again. We are going to go ahead and start with approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion for approval of minutes?
I'll move we approve the minutes as they are.
All right, thank you, Kat.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. I also want to just add that I forgot to mention this. Councilwoman Diane Turner will not be present tonight, and she will rejoin us at our next Committee of the Whole meeting and council meeting as well. All right, we'll go ahead and move. I got a second from Mr. Cox, Councilmember Cox, and let's go ahead and take the vote, Jennifer.
Mr. Hells?
Aye.
Ms. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye. Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to discussion item number 1 about Murray Parkway golf course fees. Ken Sorensen, I will go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Dominguez. Council Mayor, I appreciate your time tonight. So what I brought before you tonight is to consider amending the ordinance related to golf course fees charged at the Murray Parkway Golf Course. And our golf pro, John Pearson, and our golf superintendent, Dave Caruth, and I have put together a proposal to increase the golf course fees. These haven't been increased for about 5 years now. We did take the proposed increases to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board last month. They discussed the increases and unanimously approved bringing the increases to you for discussion and possibly for changing the ordinance. So you have the fee increases in front of you. I will tell you that our fees currently are below average for the valley, especially if you consider golf courses that are comparable to the Murray Golf Course. And the increases that we propose will bring us about in the middle of fees charged throughout the valley, but we'll still be below, just slightly below fees charged by courses that are comparable to the Murray Parkway Golf Course. The fees increase is about 6%, 6 to 8%, depending on which fee you look at. So that's our proposal. Is there questions or discussions that you would like me to answer?
Yeah, if I might. I don't have any question or discussion on the fee, but I want to give your golf course staff an attaboy, because I'll tell you, that crew does an excellent job. We cut everybody's budget, but that doesn't cut the hours that those people have to put in. That golf course is open from 6 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night. They can't hire temporary people, so They've kept it going, kept it up, and kept it working. If somebody needs a day off, then the others work even longer days. But I'll tell you what, they have done an excellent job, and you need to tell them that we appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Cox, and I echo your words. It has been a difficult year at the golf course, especially with social distancing and the protocol. But they have done a fabulous job. I agree, and I will forward your comments to them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Great, perfect. I think the fees are great. I think we are the cheapest in the valley. I think we're one of the cheapest. I will say your sandwiches are pretty amazing there. So even if you don't go golf, I invite anybody from the council to go and have a sandwich there and take it to go. It was really yummy. We golfed out there. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you. And at your next meeting, we'll bring it to the council for a vote then. Thanks for your time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next item. And it is Diversity and Inclusion, going over Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee. And Kat, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the time to you.
Thank you. So last time I brought this to the Committee of the Whole was just to sort of get a level of interest before going forward. And since I've done a lot more research and I wanted to present tonight, the ordinance that we have is in the packet. There's one, which is what the ordinance would be if we voted on it to be a sort of codified long-term board, or there's the option of an ad hoc committee as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the how and the why of this committee first, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and I'm going to definitely share the wrong screen, so just be patient with me when I do that. And I'll wait till I get the okay from Jan. Sorry, Jan, I didn't warn you at all. I just kind of went rogue and tried to share my screen. All right, can you see? Oh, nope, it's the wrong one. It's the blue one, isn't it? Dang it. Hang on. Or can you see the purple diversity and inclusion? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to get the hang of this one day. Thank you for your patience. All right, so what I want to start with is what we're all familiar with, right? We all had trainings on discrimination. Discrimination is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of someone based on age, disability, sexual orientation, status as a parent, religion, nationality, pregnancy, race, color, or gender. Just kind of like with that base level for the vocabulary that I'm going to use as we go through. And then equality, treating everyone the same. And then finally, equity, which is providing equal access through sometimes what may seem like unequal services by removing barriers and providing accommodations. So a real primary focus of this board would be the focus on equity. And I want to show this great little cartoon that is a look at equality versus equity. And you can see for equality, they all have the boxes, but one of them still can't see over the fence. And equity is giving people what they need in order to have that equal access. So it's the focus on the access rather than the treatment more so. So with that, I want to look at a history of exclusion just to give some context. I've gotten the question of why do we need this? Like if we tell people they're all welcome, they should all feel welcome. If we have something out there, everyone can get a hold of it and use it. And just kind of to look at systemic barriers that are in place and why that means something like this committee is necessary in order to overcome those. So first off, 1903, Murray City was incorporated. Yay, Murray! We become a thing, and it's fabulous, and everyone's really excited. I'm really excited. 1920, the 19th Amendment passed. We just celebrated that pretty broadly across the United States 100 years ago. But just to kind of give some perspective, the first 17 years that Murray was a city, 17 years, so I know terms changed in the framework of our government has shifted, but just for the sake of the example, right now that's 4 terms of a council person or 4 terms as a mayor. That's over 4 terms where women couldn't participate at all. So just to give a little context of that. In 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, that's where we said separate was not equal, right? And so for that, 51 years of legal educational segregation and segregation in general for sort of the start of our formation of a community. Then there's Loving versus Virginia. This is the law that forbids prohibiting interracial marriage. And so for this one, it's so recent. And that's what kills me about all of these when I look at the years. It's so recent that interracial marriage was not federally protected in our communities. And that's incredible to me. 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act just had its 30th birthday. And so previously, anyone with a disability didn't have legally protected access, right, to schools, to public education, to movie theaters, to restaurants, even to hospitals. And so that was hugely important. And then really locally, 2013, Kitchen versus Herbert makes same-sex marriage legal in the state of Utah. That's just 7 years ago. Like I think about, I've been married for 13 years this summer, and that's half of my marriage. If my partner was the same gender as me, wouldn't have been recognized by the state of Utah. And so I think it's important to just sort of reflect on that, of what that would feel like to be in a relationship with your life partner that isn't just not approved of, but it's systemically, legally oppressed. It's, that feeling of safety that you would not have maybe walking around at the park with your partner, and just how incredibly recent that is. And I bring that up not because it's important to dwell in the past, but it's important to sort of recognize how fresh a lot of those wounds are. So just sort of recognizing that trauma for those marginalized communities and how fresh it really is. But moving forward, the first step is those national legal protections, right? That's the equality piece that says you cannot legally discriminate, which is great, right? But what it doesn't do is get us all the way to equity. That's going to take local, deliberate, and enthusiastic inclusion. So all those federal cases are great, and those state Supreme Court cases are great. They get us the equality, but we've really got to do a lot more work community-wise, right? Local is where we can make a huge difference in bringing people in to feel safe, to feel included, to feel welcome, and to really actively bring in voices that haven't been heard or felt welcomed in some of the more organized, codified pieces of the city. This is just one more, it's the same thing as the boxes, but I just like that it's a little bit different perspective on it. I'm just to one more time show you can give everyone the same thing, but it doesn't mean everyone has the same access to that activity, event, resource. And I heard a little bit from, in some conversations of, what does that mean for us though in Murray? Like, we're not downtown Salt Lake, right? And we're absolutely not downtown Salt Lake. We are Murray, right? We are our own unique community, but it's not as sort of all the same as people sometimes think. These are from the last census. I'm really excited to see the new census numbers when we have those, but 10% of Murray identifies as Hispanic or Latino. And for what our numbers are, that's about 5,000 of our residents. So that's substantial. 12% of Murrayites speak something other than English as their main language at home. 5% identify as LGBTQ, and there was some different numbers out there, and I went with the low number. Just it's between 4.5 and like 8% sometimes, so it could be higher than that, but that's about that. This one is huge. 1 in 4 adults live with a disability. 1 in 4, and this category is the one that anyone can find themselves in at any time. Like, I'm not going to wake up with a different color skin, but I could wake up with, or get hit by a car and be in a different, right, be one of those 1 in 4. Mobility is the most common one. That is 2 out of every 5 adults has a mobility challenge. Then there's cognition, hearing, vision, and then there's also invisible disabilities like epilepsy. And then 60,000 refugees live in Utah, and most of them are in our county, right here in Salt Lake County. And so they have a lot of really unique challenges, I think, that we could be more aware of, and having someone from that community who works with that community, working and coordinating what their needs are and what their challenges are, and just learning more about that. So what the actual committee would look like, the actual board, is first outreach, right? We've got to make those connections to find those people in those marginalized communities who are already coming out and interested, to reach out to them and to listen, to ask questions about what services do you use? Do you know about all of our services? What community events do you come to? Why? Why not? Do you feel safe in your neighborhood? Do you feel welcome? Do you feel like people see you as a neighbor, as a member of this community, or as an outsider? And really building bridges with those community members. And one question I got was, could another committee that already exists do this? And the reason I say no to that is because the members of this committee have to be members of all of these communities. Looking at those numbers earlier, I looked at all our boards. I just kind of flipping through them, and I think we had like 68 people is what I counted if the website's updated, of members of the boards and committees. And we'd really need that to be representative of those numbers of the individuals who actually live in our city. And then the board would make recommendations to the city of, here's what people are saying, and here's what we think we can do. And sometimes it may be easy, quick fixes, and sometimes it may be 3, 5-year, 10-year plans that do need to go into some long-term planning, but of responding to those needs and seeing what barriers there are. Removing barriers where we can, perhaps adapting practices or protocols, and part of that might even be when we have an opening on a board or when we're hiring for certain types of positions, how do we tell the community? What language is that posting in? Who are our new sort of ambassadors in those communities who we know we can say, hey, do you know anyone in your community who'd be interested in applying? To sort of widen and spread out more into all corners of our community. And that outreach has to be continuous, and it has to be enthusiastic, and it has to be genuine. I don't know if you've ever had a friend or a neighbor or an in-law, someone that maybe wasn't always nice to you, and you'd have to go over and you'd have to like show up and be like, okay, and they're going to be mean to me, and they're going to say my casserole's not very good, and they're going to, whatever it is. You start to not feel welcome. Even if you keep being invited, you start to feel like, hey, maybe they don't really mean it. Like, I don't know. And so to overcome that, it has to be continuous in sort of changing that, that message and that feeling of inclusion. And review outcomes, it has to be measurable. And so that would be after 3 years of doing another survey, of reaching out and seeing what's changed as far as using of resources, using of services, attending community events. Hopefully those are a thing again soon. And then seeing, is measurably, did we do something? Did we have an impact, and how and where and what's working? And ideally, in a perfect world, this would be a 3 to 5 year committee, and we would put these recommendations out there, and they would be part of larger plans that are implemented in the city, and then those practices would just become our typical way that we run here, and then that committee could dissolve at that point. But that really just depends on everyone's participation with it. So that's sort of the more details, and you have the 2 different versions of the ordinances in your packet, but I'd love to answer any questions or hear concerns or suggestions that you may have. And I'll stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you so much, Kat. Anyone have any comments, concerns, suggestions?
Yeah, as I read through these, I don't see age discrimination. I see everything else. I think age discrimination should be added to it.
Thank you. Yes, I don't know how we missed that. Thank you.
And then I'm wondering, so is this going to be, I'm wondering about the mechanics of this, how this is going to work, because have there been complaints? Is this a committee that's going to go out and research and find out if there is a problem? Has there been a problem? Because I think Murray's a and I'm for, inclusiveness and diversity. I'm all for that. I feel bad if somebody is being left out, and I haven't had any experience with that in my district anyway. But if it's there, we need to know about it. So, what's motivating this? How are we going to? I see in here there's going to be surveys sent out. How do we know where to survey? Who's going to be surveyed? Do we survey the whole population? How's all this work together? Because I think in Murray City itself, we have excellent HR. We have excellent HR. We have all the rules. We have an excellent legal department. I think in Murray City itself, as far as the city's concerned, we're far ahead of the curve of anybody I know of, even Salt Lake, in my opinion. So now I'll get letters from Salt Lake Council people. So I guess I need to understand exactly why and how this is going to work.
Yes, thank you for asking about the survey. I meant to touch on that and didn't go into as much depth as I would have liked. So for this survey, that would be created once we had our membership from the different groups, from the different communities. And I think sometimes people can get nervous when you hear survey because there are sort of expensive versions of surveys, but I feel really confident we could do an effective survey for the type of information we're trying to gather on something even like Google Forms, which is very easy to use, is free. And it would be an online survey, and it would go out to the whole community, the whole city. And we would include a piece of it, something like zip code or street or something like that, so we could really monitor that it is Murray. But we could also, with those members of the committee, have suggestions and ideas of how to reach out to their specific community, of whether that means having the survey up at a community area where people can take it if they don't have internet or computer access, but just trying to get that information. And this comes forward because I did hear a lot when I was out knocking doors of hearing a Martinez and a Dominguez on the ballot. People really said, I never thought I'd get to vote for someone with a last name like mine. And I heard it a lot. I had someone who didn't vote for me come up to me and say, I didn't vote for you, but no, it's a huge deal that a Martinez won in this district. And so whether that feels real or not to someone, it feels real to some people. For them, that's what they see. If you walk down the hallway of City Hall and look at the faces of the mayors, I think it shows one picture of one type of person. And I don't mean that as a condemnation of anyone, and I don't mean to say it's purposeful, but it is really illustrative of feeling left out. There's the saying, representation matters. And in things like that, they see it. And I mean, there's not a person of color on that wall. And that's, again, not because anyone's purposefully stopped that from happening. And it's not to place blame, but it means that it takes more work in saying, but you do belong here and you are a member of this community and you're valued, even though your name's not on a plaque on the wall, or your family name's not on the plaque on the wall. When you have those deep Murray names that all can kind of sound the same sometimes.
Anyone?
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I agree with what Councilmember Cox has said about implementation is something that I'm obviously very concerned about because, as we have talked briefly, it would be up to the administration to implement this. So I'm very concerned about the details, and so I appreciate Council Member Cox bringing that up, and I'm hoping that we can take some time to go through both of these proposals, both the ordinance and the ad hoc advisory committee, and really discuss those details and how implementation would look if this were to be passed.
Absolutely. And that's why the two versions are there, so that we can see what's the best fit for the city. I think flexibility is important, and comfort level, obviously, of the administration. And I think the hard thing is because we all hear different things, right? Different pieces of the community reach out to different members about, sort of what their expertise is. Diane hears, Councilwoman Turner hears a lot more about the environment because people know that's her passion. So people get reached out to about what they're passionate about and what they talk about a lot. And so I think it does sometimes shift what we hear in the community. And I think it's really going to be a matter of, once that survey is done, of seeing what those recommendations are. And that's why I really stress that it could be a long-term implementation process, depending on what those request suggestions from the community and then the committee are. There's no expectation of massive, financially burdened changes happening immediately by any means. It's about getting the information so that as we do all of these different master plans in different departments and across the city, of having that information, I think is really going to help inform the choices we make going forward.
Brett, did you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Rosalba. So I've read it, and it's so they would all be members of the residents of city or businesses that have interest in Murray or in Murray. Is that correct?
There's the individuals who live in Murray or have businesses in Murray, and then I think, I don't have it up in front of me because my other screen's up. I think there was allowance as well to have someone who works with those populations, and that was mainly to make space for someone who works with like the refugee population, who, due to language barriers and transportation barriers and a lot of other things being really, really difficult to have an actual refugee on the committee would be really difficult logistically, but to make space for someone who works intimately with that community in Murray to be able to give feedback.
Okay, I'd be big on keeping that in Murray and see if we can find those type of people that reside in Murray, because sometimes we think some of those individuals don't reside in Murray, and they do reside in Murray. But
I agree with you on that, Brett.
And that would absolutely be the preference. Absolutely.
Okay, just so I have it straight, the ones that work with, they may be outside of Murray, but they're working with the community in Murray. They have to be working with the community in Murray.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Thank you, Kat. I have, being the one person of color on here, this board is important to me. Growing up in Murray, I felt the discrimination. I felt being outsided. And this was in District 2, Dale. I hate to say it doesn't happen there. It does. My aunt and uncle lived there, and we felt it, and they still feel it to this day. So this is something that is very real, and it does happen in Murray. And it would be great to hear what other members of our community have to say, and how they can feel included in government as well, and even in spaces that they go and use the rec center. Maybe it would increase, rec center participation or farmers market participation because they feel included. Right now, even when I canvassed, there was a lot of, well, we support you, but we don't want to be outed out kind of feeling. And that was other people who either knew a Sanchez, knew a Dominguez, knew a Martinez, but didn't want to come out and say that they supported me directly, which I understand, but that's something I've had to live with as well. But if we can have a board that gives us some sort of inclusion even within government and have these conversations, it's not about what we've been doing wrong. It's about how we can grow together. And I think Murray has done such an awesome job at being the forefront in any type of new discussions or newness to Murray, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of get into and to look at. But I also want to ask the mayor, for you to be on board, what would be something that you feel like you can help with this process?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
So if this came as a committee or it came as an ad hoc, what would your preference be, or what would you help administer to get something like this started?
Well, that's why I've made the comment about I'd like to take some time and look through these and see and talk with our staff. And I mean, this takes, you can't just sign someone to be enthusiastic and genuine. We have to find the right people to do it. But I think first and foremost for me, I guess I need to understand a little bit more the problem that we're fixing. I know it's a society-wide problem, but I'd like to know what we can do as a city to address this issue that we're not doing. So I'm not. I really would like more time to take a look at these both of these options and to have some discussion with Council Member Martinez and others, if you would like, to see what common ground we have to go forward.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor. Dale, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what you said. It breaks my heart that people in this day and age actually said things like that to you or to anybody else. I mean, I know it's there and it's unfortunate. Trouble is, bias has been with us since Adam and Eve, and it's going to be with us till the last day of creation. And all we can do is continue to move forward. What Kat put on the board shows the progress we've made. I mean, you can go back to 1642 and it was really bad. 1901, it was bad. So we are making progress, but we should never stop trying to push that wheel forward.
Thank you, Dale. Brett, did you raise your hand, Brett? All right, thank you. Kat, anything else you want to close with?
Just thank you all for your comments and I think also for your imagination, because it's hard to look at someone's perspective that's through someone else's eyes, and it's challenging, and it can be scary, and it can also be frustrating. So I appreciate everyone's willingness to do that and to have these conversations, and I look forward to having more conversations, Mayor, and thank you for your partnership in this process.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, if I might add, I think we shouldn't be in a hurry for this. We should make sure it's right. So make sure we take all the time with legal, with the mayor, with everybody involved, and make sure when we do it, we do the right thing to make the difference.
I agree. And that's really what it is, right? It's to make a difference and to continue to grow and be a leader, as we always have been here in Murray. So thank you so much, Kat. It shouldn't be a scary thing, that's for sure. All right, that concludes our discussion items. Jan, do you have any announcements for us?
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, perfect. Well, that concludes our committee of the whole, and we will reconvene at 6:30 for our council meeting. So potty break. Oh, Jan, I have to read our statement, right? Yeah, no, at the end of the council meeting? I can't hear you, sorry.
You're fine. Just go ahead at the council meeting.
Okay, all right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you at 6:30.